So, we continue on with issue 11. Very misleading cover where it looks like Domino and Deadpool are going to fight. No, Domino's not in any position to fight. So, we get to Deadpool's fighting some AIM agents because he needs to steal this little alien baby that has sort of technovirus or techno-organic alien stuff. There's a lot of babble, a lot of technical babble in these issues. We do find this weird thing where the animation seems to get a bit more cartoony, and we find out that they're actually inside Cable's mind. They're actually frozen in stasis with their guns aimed on him, and with sort of the last little bits of strength that he has, he's holding them safe inside of his mind. Of course, Deadpool is tracking down the Fixer, who's we find is a bit pervy in these couple issues. I think there's a point where he's swimming in his pool. He's got like naked of female Avengers that are painted on the inside of his pool and stuff. So they fight for a bit, but eventually the Fixer, he's like, "Stop! I need your help." And so the Fixer's gonna help him put the alien techno-organic baby to somehow fix Cable and have tons of exposition to explain how that makes sense. And as they're about to do it, they drop the baby. Actually, the baby is shot by Alex Hayden, Agent X. We thought we saw the last of him, but no. We have a little, we actually have one of his old intros where he's like, "Today I learned," kind of thing, with the pencil paper loose leaf thing going on there. So splash page, of course. So intro, splash page, awesome stuff. Alex is half genetically with Deadpool, so they always are at each other's necks and stuff. Deadpool does get the better of him and goes back to save the alien, or pull the alien that's like already trying to attack the Fixer. There was a funny moment where Weasel's like, "What happened with what happened to Agent X?" He's like, "Oh, you spelled out 'Hi, Weasel' with his intestines. I knew you'd peep." And it's just like such a Deadpool moment. I love that. So and I also love the cartoony, like, this is what's inside, this lower res inside of Cable's mind. He eventually tells Domino, "Oh, by the way, if I die, you guys all die. Your brains will be destroyed." Luckily, Deadpool remembers that he hid Cable in Switzerland, so he's heading here. You can see shots of, like, Domino making that stance that we saw on the cover of issue 11, but they're never, shooting at each other. Alex Hayden catches up, and I think they understand, hey, it's all just a misunderstanding thing. But they bring Cable back to life, but he is now without most of his telepathic powers, without, I think, any of his telekinetic powers, but he still plans on running and taking care of the island of Providence. And S.H.I.E.L.D., even though he has none of his powers, we know that Nick Fury still doesn't trust him. Issue 13 is exactly what I always like. Deadpool in a trench coat and fedora. So, first murder ever in Providence happens. Splash page. Opens with a splash page. First murder ever. It's of a terrorist that was seeking refuge there, and they're trying to find out who killed him. This sets a bad precedent. Cable doesn't want anyone hurt. That's why he brought a terrorist there, to hopefully teach people ways of hope and kindness, and people just can't seem to stand that. I don't know. So Deadpool's on the case of trying to find the murderer, but not really. He's going and embarrassing himself. He's getting into battles with Prester John, and somehow there's these moments where they're slowly kind of figuring out, like, the kind of person that might have committed this murder would have been able to have a footprint here and here, and he's like, oh, they'd have to just do it like this. And Deadpool doesn't. Like, Deadpool's wondering, like, who could have done this murder? Someone that was able to jump onto this scaffolding like me. Someone who was able to leap over here. And then eventually he concludes, okay, the real question is, why did I kill this guy? So, like, Deadpool eventually concludes, it must have been him that did it. And it's leading the audience to believe that for the entire thing. So, in part 2, I think he runs away first because he's like realizes he killed him, and he wants to figure it out. People are, of course, after Deadpool, like Prester John, but at some point, and I think it is in this issue, we find out that for some reason Deadpool is doesn't really remember ever being asked to kill this person, and Cable is kind of upset with him for doing it, and upset with more the nature of his character. But at the very end, we find out that Black Box may somehow be involved in convincing Deadpool, or the one that hired him, but somehow without him knowing it. So begins the first of the recap pages, in which they had sort of jokes and breaking the fourth wall to the audience, talking just to let you know what the story's been up to. We open with Deadpool killing some clowns, but really Black Box is just sort of testing him and trying to convince him to kill Cable, actually. What is the greatest threat to mankind? Why, it's Cable, of course, or he convinces him it's Cable. So, meanwhile, Cable is missing because of something that happened in, I think, New X-Force or X-Men number 6 or something like that. And they're trying to find him. They get this guy. He tried to teleport to find Cable, I think, and he wasn't able to do it. So someone had created this device that they'll be able to teleport with him, but there'll be a 3-minute delay. So they do that. Deadpool ends up in an alternate universe where Apocalypse has won, and he sees these alternate versions of superheroes like Spider-Man, and all these people are now the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. But so he starts fighting 3 of them, and Siren's there to help. But suddenly we realize, wait a minute, where's the 4th Horseman? And in this alternate dimension, Cable is the 4th Horseman. Dun dun dun! Okay, so then in part 2, we continue on, and it's kind of just a fun issue of, like, they're fighting Cable in this dimension, and then they hop to another one, and this one's like super peaceful, and Deadpool's weapons get zapped because he's not supposed to have weapons in this world. It's a world where Cable truly has become the messiah that he believes himself to be, and it's really peaceful and annoying, and they don't like that, so Deadpool leaves. They go to a place, dimension, where the techno-organic virus of Cable has taken over the entire world, and that one gets even more dangerous. Deadpool almost gives into it, but then is able to resist. And then they go to a farmhouse where they find baby Cable, and it's kind of like, and Sinister is there, and he's taking care of baby Cable. No, isn't that cute? So that's baby Cable on the cover of issue 17. So, and Deadpool's nursing him. So there's another recap page, and it's talking about, by the way, the House of M is involved in a previous issue and stuff. But anyways, Sinister, it looks like they're gonna fight. Deadpool still needed to pee from like 3 dimensions ago. He lets him go to the bathroom, and they start talking like, so how'd you get a hold of baby Cable? And they just start catching up, and Sinister's actually kind of nice in this universe, living on a farmhouse, and Siren and whatever his name is show up and end up having dinner and genetically modified chicken where it's like 10 drumsticks per chicken, and it's actually pretty nice. He did drug them, though, it turns out, but it's only because he's so fascinated by these people from another world that he wants to do interesting experiments on them, and interesting experiments on little baby Cable. At some point, Deadpool is like, I can't let this baby Cable stay stuck in this universe with Sinister. Like, I can't just move on. So I think he decides he needs to kidnap Baby Cable. Baby Cable is given some of Deadpool's blah 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 blood. I think he extracts something and gives it to him, and it kind of makes him like Cable is now. He starts becoming super powerful with his telekinetic powers, and that allows... Actually, I don't think they're allowed to escape. For some reason, I think Deadpool tries to body slide, and it's not working. So somehow they get out of there eventually. But Cable's, little baby Cable's with him, and he can start talking already. He gave them Deadpool's stuff to start advancing and accelerating his age. So he's already walking after a little while. He's already moving heavy, giant things. Eventually, something's going on with Deadpool. Deadpool is still programmed to kill Cable by Black Box, so they need to stop him, restrain him. Actually, he ends up shooting himself because he knows what he's doing isn't what he wants to be doing. So they restrain him, and they gotta figure it out. Cable is willing to take all the stuff from the Black Box Infonet, or it's all the stored memories and stuff, so that he can use his telepathic powers to save Deadpool, even though that might drain him of his powers that he just got back once again. So he does it. He saves Deadpool. They head off to find Black Box, but it turns out it's just an empty shell. And wherever Black Box actually is, we're not sure. So it ends up being one of those situations. And at the end of it, Deadpool says, okay, now that we're back on good terms and everything, we need to go to a road trip to some place that I hear is awesome. Why would the name lie? But let's go one more issue. All right. Let's go to number 19. Okay, so we should really cover this one, even though I kind of wish that this was in the this issue was in the back of the past volume, but whatever. We have Cable, who's about 17 now, rapidly aging, but this whole issue is them telling kind of bar stories, talking about their past, and each of their stories seems more and more like it's going to be one thing, and then of course it turns out to be another. Deadpool talking about the death of his father, and he keeps saying stuff like he got what he deserved or he had it coming, and we see, someone has a gun that aimed at him and shot him, kind of thing. And there's this, of course, implication throughout the entire issue as Cable is finally aging and catching up and losing his telepathic powers once again. There's this thought that's like, shit, did Deadpool kill his own father? And eventually, I think, it keeps showing that shot, but then it shows that shot from another angle, and we see it was actually a friend of his that had done it, and not him, and he was mad at his friend. And then another thing with Cable, where we had thought he had done this horrible thing, but he was able to escape and someone else. So it was really kind of an interesting, touching thing, and by the end of it, Cable has almost reached the age that he's supposed to. And that was just Deadpool and Cable's fun little adventure in Intercourse, Pennsylvania. So those 9 issues that we just covered kind of mark an end of a certain era in the Deadpool saga, or the Cable Deadpool saga. And at this point, sort of the Cable doesn't have his powers anymore. He still has Providence. He and Deadpool are in good terms. And as the story progresses, we just get to see where that goes next time. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay cuddly.